9 traits from the DSM. Grandiose sense of self-importance, preoccupation with fantasies of power and success and beauty, believing they're special, requiring excessive admiration, a sense of entitlement, being interpersonally exploitative, lacking in empathy, envious, arrogant. Know it? Yes, of course you do. This is from the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. In order to get a clinical diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder, you need to hit, the narcissist needs to hit 5 of 9. They're equally weighted traits. This is a shit way of diagnosing people. It's garbage. It's not useless. I'm not saying it's useless. I think this is very, very flimsy. And I don't think it's their priority, as I said earlier, to have the best way of diagnosing an actual person with narcissistic personality disorder. It's for the application of insurance in America, of medical insurance. That's it. So it's rough. It's kind of like, you know, when they issue army manuals, you always get like the most strict version of what can be done. This is a very strict way of doing it. It's the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual that's issued by the American Psychiatric Association. In the DSM-5, the latest edition, there was 21 psychiatrists on the committee to decide these 9 things. They had an argument. They didn't all agree. There was a head of the committee, and he said, this is what we're sticking with. And I'm not having a pop. I'm not having a go. Based on what they're trying to do, that's okay. But as a diagnostic criteria to really sort the wheat from the chaff and to say this person has narcissistic personality disorder versus this person has narcissistic traits, which is the difference between saying there is hope here and there is not, that's no good. So here's an alternative one that I would suggest. How you would test for this, I do not know yet, but this is the way that I would do it. I would split. I'd say if a therapist or a clinician has potentially got somebody in front of them with narcissistic personality disorder, they need to be looking internally and externally. Externally, I need to see exploitation. If I don't see exploitation, but I see arrogance and envy, that ain't narcissistic personality disorder to me. This is not orthodoxy. This is my informed opinion. They must be entitled. They must feel either through the narrative of I'm amazing or I'm the biggest victim in the room, I uniquely am entitled to treat people badly because I was treated badly or because I'm awesome and other people are crap. There must be entitlement, and we must see a notable lack of empathy. So if you see a person who's arrogant and haughty, they're very envious of others, they're very attached to an idea of themselves in the world, but they are capable of empathy, they might be a bit of a knob, but I don't think we can say that that's a psychiatric clinical entity of any relevance. Because if they have empathy, they can go to therapy. If they can go to therapy and be vulnerable, you can clear that stuff up. You could just say there's other ways of relating to people without being so arrogant, without being so fantastical. Internally, this is where I'll run into trouble and into controversy. I'm claiming that narcissistic personality disorder needs to be understood as having pronounced dissociative elements and psychosis. It is a manifestation of a psychotic spectrum disorder. That's my claim. And that will get me in trouble. That will get me in trouble. If they haven't, if there's no evidence that in their internal world they've had a psychotic break with reality, that means that they're living in a fully immersive simulation of reality that they're creating in which they are awesome and in which a grandiose fantasy version of themselves shows up, I don't think we can say it's narcissistic personality disorder. You might have somebody very high in trait narcissism with a whole bundle of extraordinarily maladaptive and psychopathic and criminal behaviors, but narcissistic personality disorder must be there as a fantasy escape inside of a shield egg to protect them from negative feedback and also to try to protect them and fail to protect them from negative superego injunctions. They must be in a deep, deep state of denial. So that means that any and all feedback that contravenes or contradicts the grandiose fantasy must be rejected aggressively. I want to see, I would need to see real aggression and a real bullying, fiery fight response. So that would mean even if the person is quiet and introverted and covert and vulnerable, when I challenge them on this. Say if they're grandiose, because grandiose narrative doesn't always mean, I ride a red sports car and I'm the hottest guy in the room and I'm Patrick Bateman or what's Batman when he's not Batman? Bruce Wayne, flexing alpha male. That's grandiose, yes, but it could also be no one's ever been victimized the way I was. No human being suffered the pain. I am the ultimate martyr and surely the second coming of the Christ. There's way more of that in our culture than grandiose narcissism, way more. And I claim it's a much bigger problem. People who think they're the biggest victims in the room, it's much easier to embrace a narrative of victimhood because you don't have to get up off your arse. How are you going to tell people you're Bruce Wayne if you're broke and you don't have a red sports car? But anybody can show up, my reality, my oh dear, terrible pain. And it's very, very hard to negate that because it's subjective. And that's the narrative that they'll come with. My lived subjective experience trumps your data about me. Danger, much danger. Yes, sir?
I was going to say, where does the sob story come into it, into your thinking about it? Because when I've heard you mention it, it's just the 6 or 7 that I've had interactions with, sob story is key.
Is it mainly men?
Oh, all men.
So there's
all different ages, talking my age, 30, but a bit younger than 56, 60-year-old sob story. So
the sob story, obviously I've always been aware of the sob story element to it, but the big revelation for me was about 2 years ago. I'm not big into true crime and serial killers and all that, but I was reading some research about psychopathy in American prisons, and they were interviewing serial killers, and they said one consistent element of the serial killer's narrative and victim selection was the sob story. And they were all using a sob story to test the boundaries of a potential victim. If you shrugged it off, you were no good. But if they could see the tears welling up in your eyes, oh, you poor baby, poor thing, they were like, got you, fucker. You'll be in the back of the van soon. That's what, who's the one who pushed people into the back of vans pretending to be injured? Which serial killer is that? Is it? No, not Dahmer. Bundy. What a loon he was, with pretending that he'd have a broken arm. And he'd be like, oh, my car's broken down. Smart, though. He wasn't a low IQ psychopath, that one.